What's good, people? So today I want to talk about solo and budget traveling, essentially the pros and cons for both, and essentially if it's for you or if it isn't for you. It's not really for everybody. People prioritize and have different styles of traveling, if it's luxury, budget, solo, groups, friends, family. So I'm just going to explain if it's for you, if it's not, if you should try it, or if you should actually just avoid it. So quickly about me, I've done pretty much most styles of traveling. I never really thought I would prefer solo traveling just because I like to experience things with other people. But I actually gave it a crack about 3 years ago in Europe and fell in love with it. It was addictive and definitely overwhelming at first, but the more I experienced it, the more I just found so many benefits towards it. I began to compromise less. There was less drama, there was less commitment and responsibility. It was simply doing what I wanted whenever I wanted. I could sleep in, I could wake up early to catch the sunrise, I could meet different people. I was so open, I wasn't shut off. And it gave me a really great sense of who I am, what I wanted, and it also gave me, I personally think, the authentic experience of traveling was simply just experiencing the country, meeting the locals, seeing things how they were, and phenomenal. I wouldn't have it any other way. There's definitely trips where I do want to experience it with other people, but I think everybody should try solo traveling at least once, just to see if it's for you or not. But you can definitely tell some people are very committed with other people, some people need to experience things with others, and I guess it boils down to if you're independent, what you want, what experience you're kind of wanting. And yeah, I wouldn't say I'm biased, but I am pretty biased. I definitely prefer solo traveling, just with certain countries though. For me, I think there's certain experiences you need with other people. For me personally, when I went to Tomorrowland, I wouldn't have enjoyed it as much without my friends, family. So certain events, certain experiences is obviously better with other people. But what I'm talking about is just strictly backpacking Europe, backpacking Asia. You know, I'm not saying it has to be all alone. I'm just saying that there are certain experiences where it's better and more optimal by being by yourself, by being with other people. But yeah. So these are definitely the pros of budget and solo traveling. I think one that definitely stands out is the lack of compromising and drama. So when you're by yourself, you do only what you want to do. There's no complaining, there's no stresses, there's no other responsibilities or commitment. You wake up when you want, you do what you want. You don't have to go shopping if you don't like shopping. You don't have to wake up early if you like to sleep in, right? You just do what you want to do. And I think that's such an important thing, especially when you're traveling, because you don't want somebody who, if you enjoy hiking and somebody doesn't enjoy hiking and they're with you, that's gonna ruin your experience. Or if you're both single, if you're single and the other person's in a relationship and they just keep calling their partner up, or you wanna go clubbing but you can't, like certain things limit you when you're with other people. And I think that when you're by yourself, when you're solo traveling, there's no limitations. It opens you up to so much, meaning another massive thing I found is when you're with other people, you're very shut off. So if you're with a group of 4 people, you're going to spend most of your time with those 4 people, right? But if you're by yourself, you're going to be talking to the locals, you're going to be meeting different people, you're going to be more open to more experiences. And I didn't even consider that before solo traveling. And when I met so many incredible people. I've heard so many incredible stories just because I was there, I was by myself. I just spoke to these people who are also by themselves too. Sometimes they're in groups, sometimes they're alone. And we just spoke, like we just connected because they're like-minded people. Like, where can I go? What can I do? What do you recommend? Where are you from? Tell me your story. And it's just such an incredible thing, being exposed essentially to the locals, to the other travelers, and it's kind of enhanced when you're by yourself. Hopefully that makes sense. Another pro of solo travel is going to be an authentic experience. So this kind of links between solo and budget, but one thing I have noticed is when you're more budget restricted, you tend to do things in a more stretched way, right? Let me explain. So instead of catching cabs, transport, or Ubers everywhere, you tend to walk to the attractions or to these sites. And by doing so, you actually get to experience the streets, the people, the behind the scenes essentially, as opposed to skipping it all. So for instance, if you just catch a train from point A to point B, you're skipping that whole journey. I'm not saying sometimes you have to catch transport, obviously, but when you walk to close by places, you're more inclined to experience certain things. Like, it could be somebody playing music on the streets of Europe, or it could be, you know, coming across a beautiful site, building, person, anything. And you're just more open to these experiences when you're budgeted, when you're, to a degree, limited. Because yes, it takes more time and it's possibly not ideal for a lot of people watching this, but experiencing it is, like, I love all the, for me it's essentially the hidden gems, right? You can go to Rome and see the Colosseum, the Pantheon, Trevi Fountain. That's cool. There's a lot of people there, it's very touristy, but if you go to these like underrated places, it feels more unique, more special. And for me, that's one of the reasons why I love solo and budget traveling. So another massive pro about budget and solo traveling is getting the authentic experience. Meaning, you're not going to be sheltered from this place. You're going to be walking everywhere, talking to the people, seeing things how they actually are, as opposed to catching cabs everywhere or being on a tour. They're great for their own sense, but when you're on a tour, they're showing you everything they want you to see. They're showing you the tourist attractions, the highlights, the A-grade stuff. You're not seeing the behind the scenes. You're not seeing the negatives, which actually makes that country, right? You're not going to see like the homeless people or the negativity or everything that you shouldn't see, essentially. But I think the whole point of traveling is to see what that country and culture is like. I think it comes with the good, the bad. And the only way to find that is to actually experiment and experience it for yourself. Because you can always hear what other people have to say about a country, and it's just their experience. They could have a bad experience with meeting a local who threw something at them or stole something from them, and they would just come out and say, you know, Paris is an awful city because this happened to me. But that's their experience, right? That's their opinion. So your experience is going to be completely different, and linking this towards solo traveling is you're not sheltered by other people's opinion. It's simply your opinion and it's simply your experience. So yes, you could possibly experience something bad, but it's going to be your experience. It's authentic, it's your opinion. And you're more inclined to actually see things for how they are when you're solo, when you're budgeting, because you're not skipping all these places. You're not catching cabs everywhere, point A to point B. You're not going to just to take photos of the tourist attractions. You're going to learn more about it. You're going to spend more time on it because, you know, it's taken longer to get there, so you're going to appreciate it more, as opposed to doing a 2-day tour over an entire country where things are rushed and you're not getting the actual experience. Another pro about budget and solo traveling is, this is a generalization, but for most experiences and people I've spoken to, people who tend to solo and budget travel tend to travel for a longer period of time. So the reason why this is because when you buy a ticket, it's expensive, right? But when you go to, let's just say, Europe, you go halfway across the world and you're not going there for 3 weeks. You're not going there just to see the highlights. You're going there to backpack. You're going to catch buses country to country, which takes longer, or trains. And you're going to actually enjoy your time there, as opposed to ticking things off and getting by. So let's just take tours, for example. Nice. So let's just take tours, for example. They are very fast-paced, and they're generally for people that are time poor or people that just want to see the highlights of a country. And that's another generalization. It's for, you know, couples, inexperienced travelers, solo travelers. I'm just definitely generalizing here, but what I mean is tours are very fast-paced. So you're not going to be allocated a lot of time towards that country. It's just going to be the highlights, going in, going out, going to the next one. That's it. And if you have traveled or done solo/budget traveling, then you'll know hostels are definitely the best approach for multiple reasons. If you haven't been in a hostel yet, I definitely recommend trying one out. They are phenomenal, and I think everybody can say the same thing who's been in one. So the pros about staying in a hostel are obviously meeting like-minded travelers. If you don't know what a hostel is, it's essentially a room where you're sharing with other people, mostly confined of bunk beds. So you can stay in a male or a female dorm, or it could be mixed. Sometimes it could be 4 people, it could go to 15, 20, even 30 people. I stayed in a hostel that was full of, I think it was like 34 people, which a lot of them snore, so that wasn't ideal, but it was a great experience. But the pros of hostels are, 1, they're obviously dirt cheap, so it's probably 1/4 of the price. 2, they're very modern, they're very safe, they're very clean. Obviously you have to do your research and find the good ones, because there are going to be pretty crappy hostels, so be smart about that when you do go to a hostel. And they're generally city center, plus you get a lot of awesome tips and tricks from the people working there, from the people you meet. And from most cases, a lot of the countries I actually went to, I started to travel with a lot of the solo travelers that I met in the hostel, because they knew or heard or found of a awesome place to go. And a lot of the great experiences I had was just from word of mouth, from meeting these people. And a lot of the stories that have stuck with me, and a lot of the people that I still keep in contact with from around the world, are just randoms I met in a hostel. That's we just connected because these people are doing the same thing as you, right? They're into photography, they're into traveling, they're into budgeting and giving you all these little tips and tricks that they've learned. And honestly, 9 out of 10 times, they're the most friendliest people you'll ever meet, and their experiences and stories are ridiculous. Like, I've had so many days where I've just sat down and spoke to these people that I've met just to listen to their stories. One that really sticks with me is, I met a guy in Amsterdam. He was pretty successful in London. He had a fiance, he had a really well-earning job and a decent career. Everything was good, but he was unhappy. He wasn't satisfied with life. He just thought it was all glamorized, and it wasn't what he wanted in life. So he gave it up. He donated most of his money, he broke up the relationship, she understood, and he got rid of everything. He just literally jumped on a ship and he traveled for, I think it was like 3 years straight. Just traveling through Asia, traveling through Europe, traveling through South America, writing, teaching yoga, taking photos, and he is a completely different person. The person he was describing, the fake person he was, the person he wasn't happy being, pretending to be, to the person he actually discovered and found through this solo experience was just inspiring. It was ridiculous. We spoke for like 15 hours and we still keep in contact after 3 years. He is such an incredible person, and like, you won't get these experiences, you won't get these stories or anything if you just stay in a hotel, because if you stay in a hotel, you're by yourself. You're going to simply order food and watch TV, which is whatever. That's your prerogative. But if you stay in a hostel, you're meeting like-minded people, you're experiencing how it should be done. And each to their own, obviously, but staying in a hostel is incredible. And yeah, would not have it any other way, would not recommend it enough. And now the cons of budget and solo traveling. So obviously money is going to be a massive issue. So when you are budgeting, you're very limited with restaurants and experiences that you can have. For example, stuff like bungee jumping or parachuting, going to certain places is a make or break. Essentially, that could be a week of budget, or it could just be a certain experience that you might have to skip out on just because money is tight. So what I mean by this is, generally when you're budget orientated, you're going to have to skip out on certain things, such as instead of going on the VIP to the top of the Eiffel Tower and having a $50 glass of water, you could actually save your money and go to different parts of the city and see it from a more bird's eye / horizontal type of view, right? There's different points in Paris where you can see the Eiffel Tower that is just much more beautiful than being actually on it, right? Then you got stuff like the Colosseum, which looks much better from the outside, and then it's just underwhelming on the inside. Again, I'm biased, that's my opinion, it could be different for you. And again, a massive letdown is definitely going to be the Mona Lisa in Paris. It was so small and underwhelming and extremely overcrowded. plus you had to pay extra to see it, which was not ideal, especially when you're budgeting. Like I mentioned before, the whole glamorized thing. So when you're paying big bucks for tours or people showing you around, they're gonna show you what you want to see. You're not gonna see the actual side of the country. Like the example I gave you, when I've done tours, like I can go to, when I went to Southeast Asia, Cambodia, Laos and Thailand, it was weird. It was awesome experience, 100% grateful for it, but we were staying in 5-star hotels, we were getting, you know, breakfast buffets, everything was done for us, and it was just, like they were always telling us, don't go to these places, watch out at night, avoid these places because, you know, theft and pickpocketing is so common. And yeah, it is, 100%, but we just skipped over a whole part of history, the culture, the markets. Like I love, one of my favorite parts of traveling is literally going to street markets, eating street food. And when you're doing tours, you're just like, no, don't eat street food in Southeast Asia, you'll get sick, you'll get, you know, food poisoning. But no, I'm like, what are the people I went on tours with? They're like, they went to fast food chains and McDonald's and KFC, and I'm like, it agitates me. It's one of my little pet hates when people travel and go to fast food chains, right? Like, go to restaurants, fair enough, but if you're gonna go to Southeast Asia, eat street food, be smart about it. You know, watch them cook the meat. Make sure there's no fans over the meat, which just means it's been lying there for a while. Or go to a place that's busy, because if it's busy with locals, then it's got good reviews and people have actually gone back there, which means it's good. So a pro about not budgeting and solo traveling is, again, on the contrary, you'll do things that people that are budget orientated couldn't do. Let's just say expensive stuff, like getting a river cruise on the Zimbabwe River, or going whitewater rafting, or bungee jumping, or parachuting. There's things that you're limited by. And when you have money, obviously you're not limited, but obviously you're not getting the real experience. And this really just boils down to who you are, what you want, and what you're wanting to experience. So if you want to prioritize having a luxury resort in Bali and enjoying the sun by the pool and the food, fair enough. That's on you, it's your thing. But personally for me, I would much rather hike the volcanoes, catch the sunset. I'd much rather go to the monkey forest and eat the, you know, street food and go on a scooter to all these volcanoes and waterfalls and forests. And that's me. Different experiences, different priorities. So it's up to everyone. Like I mentioned before, when you are budget traveling, you're going to prioritize hostels, which generally means you're going to be sleeping with other people, strangers. Sometimes there could be a bad person that could steal your phone if you're being stupid and leave your phone out. But most hostels have lockers, so you just lock your passport, phone, your important, your valuables. I've basically went to most countries in Europe staying in hostels, and I've never had a single bad experience. In fact, one of the girls left her phone and wallet in Iceland for 4 days. She thought she lost it on the tour, but it was just on the couch in the hostel, and it was returned. None of the money was stolen. So yes, there's going to be good and bad people. That's just everywhere you go. Just be smart, be friendly, and yeah. So another massive thing about traveling with other people is going to be the commitment. It's going to be the sacrifices you are going to have to make, because what you prefer isn't ideally what other people want. And if they want to sleep in, then you're gonna have to wait for them. If they want to go shopping, guess what? If you don't want to eat this food, or if you don't want to go to these places, then that's the massive con about traveling with other people. You have to do the things that they want to do. They could slow you down, or you could be the very take your time type of person and they just want to speed things up. So you're compromising a lot. There's more drama involved, and it can get annoying. Another massive thing is also relying on other people. So when you're by yourself, obviously everything's up to you. You have to book everything, confirm everything. You have to be organized and prepared. And if something goes wrong, again, that's entirely up to you. But if you're with other people, obviously you can bounce off them. You can get assisted by them. They can help you, and they can cut things in half in terms of pricing. So if you're staying in a hostel, it's cheap, fair enough, but you're paying full price. As opposed to if you travel with somebody else and stay in a hotel, then you're splitting the cost. You're splitting the cost on food, on transport, on tickets and admission and all that stuff. So that is a good thing about traveling with other people. You can split the costing, and you can do things that you wouldn't normally do when you're by yourself. So again, you're experiencing things with other people, you're enjoying it more because, you know, if you're smart, you're around positive and energetic people, and they'll just bring your experience up. They'll make you laugh, they'll make you smile, and you can definitely enjoy it more. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. I could have added a lot more into this, but I don't want to bore you to death. So if you do have any questions, let me know. If you just honestly want to ask about who you are, if I should travel by myself or with people, where I should travel, because there's certain places in the world that are incredible to travel by yourself. Europe, you got Japan, Singapore, there's a lot of places that you can travel by yourself with where it's very easy, and there's places where you should avoid. That could be another video. Yeah, that's probably going to be another video because that's actually a big thing. Yeah. But if you do have any questions, shoot me a message on YouTube or Instagram and I'll be happy to reply.